Greetings and welcome to my biology class. My name is Teacher Scholastica. One of the basic characteristics of all living things is movement. And in every living thing, two types of movement exist: the growth movement and the non-growth movement. The non-growth movement is always brought about by an event or a factor or a change in the environment of an organism, which is called stimulus. An example of a non-growth movement is quickly removing your hand when you touch a hot object. And to quickly remove your hand when you touch a hot object, many parts of your body are involved. Your skeleton, your muscles, your neurons, the brain, and so on. In that case, there is need for these various parts of the body to be properly coordinated. In all vertebrates, coordination is brought about by two systems: the endocrine system and the nervous system. The endocrine system brings about endocrine coordination, while the nervous system brings about nervous coordination. And this leads us to the topic we have today, which is nervous coordination. Before we continue, let us quickly take a look at our lesson objectives. And we have that by the end of this lesson, the learner should be able to define nervous coordination, state the major divisions of the nervous system, briefly describe the structure of the brain, mention and explain the membranes that protect the brain, mention and explain the nervous tissues found in the brain, outline the major divisions of the brain, lastly, describe the major divisions of the brain and state their functions. We start with our very first lesson objective, which says that the learner should be able to define nervous coordination. But before we define nervous coordination, first of all, what is coordination in living things? In living things, coordination is the working together of various parts of the body to produce a particular response or for proper effectiveness. I repeat, in living things, coordination is the working together of various parts of the body to produce a particular response or for proper effectiveness. Having seen the definition of coordination in living things, we then go over to the definition of nervous coordination. And we say that nervous coordination is the control and regulation of various bodily activities by the nervous system. I repeat, nervous coordination is the control and regulation of various bodily activities by the nervous system. With this, we've achieved our first lesson objective, which is that the learner should be able to define nervous coordination. We go over to our second lesson objective, which says that the learner should be able to state the major divisions of the nervous system. The nervous system is majorly divided into two: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. And for the purpose of this class, we focus on the central nervous system, which is further divided into the brain and spinal cord. With this, we've achieved our second lesson objective, which says that the learner should be able to state the major divisions of the nervous system. We go over to our third lesson objective, which says that the learner should be able to briefly describe the structure of the brain. The brain is the complex central organ of the nervous system, consisting of billions of neurons controlling physical and mental activities. I repeat, the brain is a complex central organ of the nervous system, consisting of billions of neurons controlling physical and mental activities. The brain is located in the skull. It weighs about 1.5 kilograms and it is grayish white in color. That is it for the brief description of the brain. And then we go over to the membranes that protect the brain. The brain is protected by three membranes. We start with mentioning the membranes before we go over to explaining them. These three membranes that protect the brain are the dura mater, the arachnoid matter, and the pia matter. We go over to explaining these membranes one after the other, starting with the dura mater. The word dura means soft, and matter means mother. The dura mater is the most distant of all the membranes from the brain, but the closest to the skull. The dura mater is made up of two layers. The outer peristyle layer and the inner meningeal layer are the two layers of the dura mater. The outer peristyle layer is attached to the skull, while the inner meningeal layer is attached to the arachnoid matter. That is it for the dura mater, and we go over to the arachnoid matter. The arachnoid matter is found between the dura mater and the pia mater. It is also made up of two words. The word arachnoid is gotten from a Greek word arachne. This Greek word arachne means spider. And then we have the word matter meaning mother. In that case, the arachnoid matter is also called the spider matter. This is because when viewed under the microscope, the arachnoid matter resembles a delicate spider web. Between the arachnoid matter and the pia matter is found the cerebrospinal fluid. Lastly, we go over to the pia matter. Of these three membranes, the pia matter is the closest or the most adherent to the brain. The word pia means soft, while matter means mother. The pia matter is made up of a network of capillaries that supply oxygen and other nutrients to the brain. Collectively, these three membranes that protect the brain are called meninges or meningolytes, whereas one of them is referred to as meninx. The inflammation of the meninges or meningolytes is what we call meningitis. That is it for mentioning and explaining the membranes that protect the brain. We go back to our fifth lesson objective, which says that the learner should be able to mention and explain the nervous tissues found in the brain. There are two types of nervous tissues found in the brain, the white matter and the gray matter. Of course, we always start with mentioning before we go over to explaining. We start with the white matter. The white matter is located beneath the gray matter. It is responsible for transmitting information between different regions of the central nervous system. In that case, the white matter needs to be insulated. The insulation of the white matter is done by fats or fatty tissues. This fat or fatty tissue that covers the white matter, thereby providing insulation, is known as myelin. In that case, the white matter is said to be myelinated. Being that the white matter is myelinated, myelin gives it a whitish appearance, thus the name white matter. We leave the white matter and we go over to the grey matter. The grey matter is responsible for processing and integrating information. The grey matter is located on the outer covering of the brain. But then the grey matter can also be found in some deep structures of the brain, like the basal ganglia and the thalamus. The grey matter is made up of cell bodies of neurons and a network of blood vessels. The grey matter is also unmyelinated, which means that it is not covered in the fatty whitish substance. In that case, the gray matter appears to be gray in color, thus the name gray matter. That is it for the nervous tissues that are found in the brain. And we go over to the major divisions of the brain. The brain is majorly divided into three: the forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. That is it for the major divisions of the brain. And with this, we've achieved our sixth lesson objective. But before we look at the seventh lesson objective, let us look at the word encephalon. This word encephalon is gotten from the Greek word encephalos. This Greek word encephalos means within the brain. But then it can also be used to refer to the major regions of the brain. In that the word encephalon can be used to refer to the major regions of the brain, we have the following words. The first one is prosencephalon. The word pros means before or for. The second word is mesencephalon. We have the word mesos, which means middle or mid. Lastly, we have the word rhombencephalon. The word rhombus is the Greek word for rhombus. In that case, the full brain can also be called prosencephalon. The midbrain can also be called mesencephalon. Lastly, the hindbrain can as well be called rhombencephalon. This is because when viewed from above, the hindbrain has the shape of a rhombus. With this, we are done with the word encephalon, and then we move over to our seventh lesson objective. Of course, we already know these major divisions of the brain, so we are going ahead to describing them and stating their functions. So we start with the forebrain. The forebrain is the most complex and the most advanced region of the brain. It is also the largest region of the brain. The forebrain is majorly divided into two: the major parts and the minor parts. The major parts of the forebrain includes the cerebrum and the olfactory lobe. Whereas the minor parts of the forebrain includes the thalamus and hypothalamus. We then start with the first major part of the forebrain, which is the cerebrum. The cerebrum is the most prominent part of the brain. The outer part of the cerebrum is called the cerebral cortex or the gray matter, you remember, while the inner part of the cerebrum is called the white matter. The cerebrum is thrown into folds or convolutions, which increase the surface area. That means that when we look at the cerebrum, we have folds or convolutions. The folds of the cerebrum are called gyri, while the spaces between the fold are called sulci. The cerebrum then is further divided into two. It is divided into cerebral hemispheres and cerebral lobes. Now we look at the cerebral hemispheres. There are two cerebral hemispheres: the left cerebral hemisphere and the right cerebral hemisphere. The left cerebral hemisphere controls the right part of the body, while the right cerebral hemisphere controls the left part of the body. The left and the right cerebral hemispheres are connected by a band of fibers called corpus callosum. The corpus callosum connects the left and right cerebral hemispheres and also ensures proper communication between them. With this, we are done with the cerebral hemispheres and we go over to the cerebral lobes. We have four cerebral lobes. Before we continue, note that the cerebral lobes are further divisions of each cerebral hemisphere, which means that the left cerebral hemisphere is divided into four lobes, and the right cerebral hemisphere is also divided into four lobes. The cerebral lobes include the frontal lobe, temporal lobe, parietal lobe, and occipital lobe are the four cerebral lobes. The frontal lobe is located directly behind the forehead, which means immediately after the forehead, you get the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is the site for motor cortex. That implies that it is responsible for the planning and execution of all voluntary actions. We have the temporal lobe, which is located close to the temple. So the temple is somewhere here. So this is the position of the temporal lobe. The temporal lobe is the site for auditory cortex. So it is responsible for processing sound. We go over to the parietal lobe, which is located behind the frontal lobe. This implies that immediately after the forehead, you have the frontal lobe. Immediately after the frontal lobe, you have the parietal lobe. The parietal lobe is the site for somatosensory cortex. The word somato means skin, sensory means sensation. So the parietal lobe deals with all the sensations that are associated with the skin. Lastly, we have the occipital lobe, which is located at the base of the cerebrum. The occipital lobe is the site for visual cortex. So it is responsible for visual perceptions, color discrimination, identification of shapes, and so on and so forth. We then go over to the second major part of the cerebrum, which is the olfactory bulb. Also known as olfactory bulb, is a paired structure located within the forebrain. It is responsible for smell processing and odor discrimination. That is for the function. With this, we have finalized with the major parts of the forebrain. We now go over to the minor parts of the forebrain, where we have the thalamus and hypothalamus. We start with the thalamus. During our thalami. In humans, the thalami has the shape and size of a walnut. They are two rounded structures attached to the back of the forebrain and made up of a mass of gray matter. For the functions of the thalamus, we have the thalamus is involved in arousal and awareness. It is also involved in the reception of impulses. It receives impulses from the midbrain, the hindbrain, and the spinal cord. Lastly, we have that it is the site for the interpretation of the sensations of pain, touch, and anger. So that is it for the minor parts of the forebrain. The hypothalamus. We are hypothalamus. This is a cone-shaped structure located beneath the thalamus. For the functions we have, the hypothalamus is responsible for controlling the temperature of the body, for regulating homeostasis. That means that it is involved in the maintenance of a fairly constant internal environment in organisms. Lastly, it is responsible for endocrine functions. That is the secretion of hormones. Since we are done with the hypothalamus, it means that we are done with the minor parts of the forebrain. And then we leave the forebrain and we go over to the midbrain, which is the second major division of the brain. The midbrain is the smallest region of the brain. It is the shortest region and it is very narrow. It is less than a centimeter. The midbrain is located between the pons varolai and hypothalamus. The pons varolai is a part of the hindbrain. whereas the hypothalamus is a part of the forebrain. If the midbrain is located between the pons varolai, which is a part of the hindbrain, and hypothalamus, which is a part of the forebrain, it means that the midbrain is situated between the forebrain and the hindbrain, where it provides connection. The midbrain is made up of the optic lobe, pituitary gland, pineal body. The optic lobe is directly connected to the optic nerve of the eye, which arises from the blind spot eyes. In other words, the optic lobe receives information from the eyes. The pituitary gland is responsible for the secretion of hormones, prolactin, oxytocin, antidiuretic hormones, and so on. Remember that we said that the hypothalamus is responsible for the control of endocrine functions. That means that the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland work hand in hand. Finally, we have the pineal body. The pineal body is responsible for the production and release of melatonin. Melatonin is involved in the following. The first one is the control of circadian rhythm. The melatonin that is secreted by the pineal body is responsible for controlling the circadian rhythm, particularly the sleep-wake cycle. It controls the sleep-wake cycle because it is secreted in response to darkness. Then we have the antioxidant properties. Melatonin is capable of protecting tissues and cells in the body from oxidative damages. Finally, we have the control of seasonal reproductive cycles. That is, it controls the timing of reproduction in many animals. That is it for the midbrain, which is the middle region of the brain. We go over to the very last region of the brain, which is the hindbrain. The hindbrain is located at the posterior part of the brain. It forms a connection between the brain and the spinal cord. The hindbrain is made up of the cerebellum, the pons varolai, and medulla oblongata. The word cerebellum means little cerebrum. So the cerebellum can also be called little brain. The cerebellum is the thick and convoluted part of the hindbrain. As a matter of fact, the cerebellum is the only convoluted part of the hindbrain. The convolutions of the cerebellum are called folia. Just like the cerebellum also has hemispheres. But the hemispheres of the cerebellum are called cerebral hemispheres, whereas the hemispheres of the cerebellum are called cerebellar hemispheres. For the functions of the cerebellum, we have the cerebellum controls balance and posture. It controls eye movements. Lastly, it coordinates muscular activities and involuntary responses. That is it for the cerebellum of the hindbrain. We look at the pons varolai of the hindbrain. The pons varolai is a band of fibers with a rounded, bulging structure. It is made up of both gray matter and white matter. And the key function of the pons varolai is the provision of connection between the cerebrum and the cerebellum. With this, we move over to the medulla oblongata, which can also be called the medulla. The medulla oblongata is the point where the brain stops and the spinal cord starts. It's located at the posterior end of the brain and it has a triangular shape. In the medulla oblongata, the white matter surrounds the gray matter, White matter surrounding the gray matter is actually obtainable in the spinal cord. But because the medulla oblongata is very close to the spinal cord, it also has its white matter surrounding the gray. It is in the medulla oblongata that the left and right motor fibers from the brain cross over each other, so that the left cerebral hemisphere controls the right part of the body, while the right cerebral hemisphere controls the left part of the body. This crossing over that takes place in the medulla oblongata is called decussation. For the functions of the medulla, we have that the medulla oblongata controls the rate and depth of breathing. It is also responsible for the regulation of blood pressure. It regulates blood pressure by controlling the dilation and constriction of blood vessels. Lastly, it is responsible for controlling many involuntary actions. With this, we are done with the hindbrain. And as well, we've been able to describe the major divisions of the brain and state their functions. It means that we've also achieved our last lesson objective. Before we bring the lesson to an end, let us do a quick recap of what we have learned. We started with the definition of nervous coordination. But before we define nervous coordination, we defined coordination. And we say that coordination is the working together of various parts of the body to produce a particular response of a proper effectiveness. We went ahead to define nervous coordination as the control and regulation of various bodily functions by the nervous system. After we define nervous coordination, we looked at the major divisions of the nervous system. Then we said that the nervous system is broadly divided into the central nervous system, abbreviated as CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, abbreviated as PNS. We went ahead to say that the central nervous system is divided into the brain and spinal cord. From there, we looked at the brief description of the brain. When we say that the brain is the complex central organ of the nervous system, consisting of billions of neurons controlling physical and mental activities. We went ahead to say that the brain is essential anatomically, it is also essential functional. We say that the brain weighs about 1.5 kg and it is grayish white in color. We went ahead to mention and explain the membranes that protect the brain, where we talked about the outermost dura mater, the middle arachnoid matter, and the innermost pia matter. We went from there to mention and explain the nervous tissues that are found in the brain. We talked about the inner white matter that is responsible for the transmitting of information across different regions of the central nervous system, and the gray matter that is responsible for integrating and processing information. Then we looked at our sixth objective that talked about the major divisions of the brain, or the major regions, when we talked about the forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. From here, we looked at the word encephalon, which means within the brain. We used it to refer also to the different regions of the brain, which led us to the prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and the rhombencephalon. And lastly, we described these major divisions of the brain and we stated their function. We talked about the forebrain that is divided into minor parts and major parts. In the major parts where we have the cerebrum and the olfactory lobe, in the minor parts where we have the thalamus and the hypothalamus. We were able to describe these structures and we stated their functions. We went over to the midbrain, where we have the optic lobe, we have the pineal body, and we have the pituitary gland. We were also able to describe them and state their functions. And lastly, we looked at the hindbrain, which we say that it is made up of the cerebellum, the pons alveoli, and the medulla oblongata. We are also able to explain these structures and state their functions. With this, we have come to the end of today's lesson. For your assignments, you are expected to state the major divisions of the peripheral nervous system. State the major divisions of the peripheral nervous system. Remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you'll be notified each time I post a new video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for learning.